Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy J Rock. Now, today I'm gonna be hitting you with another comic review. We're gonna be reviewing X-Men: Children of the Atom. This was released 2021. Now, we're gonna be talking about the single issue. This issue number one. It's gonna be a little something different. We usually review a whole story arc, right? Like a whole volume one, volume two, a whole trade. So I'm trying to get into some of the singles as well nowadays. I'm reading it digitally, and if I like it enough, I'll buy the collected edition, right? So this is written by Vita Ayala, and artist is Bernard Chang. Right away, here this cover, it shows me that they're doing some type of they're introducing new characters, but they're some type of play on the existing characters. Like there's a Cyclops wannabe right here, a girl that looks like Gambit, a person that looks like Archangel, but they kind of modernize the outfits a little, make them look a little different, and it's different characters wearing them. So that immediately caught my interest. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check this out. Usually wait for the trades, like I said, but right now I was like, I'm just gonna read the single, see how I like it. So let's get into the story a little bit. Immediately in the first page, it's an action scene. So we don't know who these characters are yet, but we know they're the good guys because they're kind of dressed like the X-Men. The costumes look familiar. So we know that's who we should be rooting for. Now the villains are also new characters, and you got a diverse group here, which is a good thing. We're pushing for diversity in books and so forth, as we should. But one thing they do sometimes is they just change existing characters because they say like, oh, new characters takes effort to build a fan base and a lot of hard work, so we just want to take the easy route. Here they didn't do that. These are new characters, so kudos for that. I give them props. And they have one character. She's wearing a purple costume. Her eyes are kind of like she looks Asian, right? One character's black and one character's blonde. So it's like a white girl. So we have all kinds of characters, different races. One interesting thing though, all the villains here are they're all girls. There was no males here. So okay, it's like a girl villain group. And the X-Men, they have some guys, some girls, and so forth. This the way the art is and the colors, it gave me a vibe of like maybe it's going like with the like it's for a LGBTQ audience, but it's X-Men, so I'm gonna read it regardless. But so I'm putting that into account, so in case I don't like it, I'm like, you know what, they're aiming for a different demographic. So let's get to the story. Once our superheroes take care of these villains, I like the action scene here. The fight was, it wasn't drawn out too much, but it was there long enough to show these villains are not pushovers, right? The team had to work for the victory. And after this, the X-Men show up, right? The OGs. We got Magma and Maggot here. Maggot, I'm not too familiar with. So it's a newer character to me. They show up talking to these kids, telling them, hey, you know, you want to come to Krakow with us, right here on America or whatever area they're at. It's not safe for mutants. So maybe the kids say they don't want to go to Krakow, at least not quite yet. They got business to handle where they stay, right? So these kids, they don't want to go to Krakow. That seemed interesting to me because you see there's like a Nightcrawler knockoff, an Archangel knockoff. All their powers, they come from like technology. They kind of have, think of armor like Iron Man does. They have like suits like that, right? So that leads me to believe, are they even mutants or are they just humans that maybe look up to mutants? We go back to the X-Men. I believe they're on the moon at this moment. I don't know what the hell they're doing there. I gotta catch up on some of these other books. But I think they're on the moon at this time and they're playing pool, drinking, you know, having some downtime. They're chopping it up. And they get to the conversation of, hey, you know, we just bumped into some new mutants, some younger kids. Woman's like, well, we gotta bring them to Krakoa, you know, where they're safe amongst their own. And Cyclops, they're talking to him, and Cyclops like, well, they made it pretty clear from the story that they don't want to come to Krakoa, at least not yet. When they're ready, the doors are open for them. But let's not force them, like peer pressure them. You gotta be one of us, right? And Wolverine's like taking the different approach, like, no, they gotta come with us because we gotta protect them. Well, that's interesting. You know, it's like when your parents or whatever, like if they tell a kid what to do, it's for your own good. Sometimes you gotta let the kids figure it out because some are hard headed. Like they kind of have to feel it to believe it. They're like, oh, well, that happened to you. That doesn't mean it happened to me because in their head they're smarter, right? And these are young kids themselves right here. So, you know, you gotta let them figure things out for their own. Because if you Sometimes the more you tell somebody to do something, the less they're gonna do it. They kind of gotta figure it out themselves. Then they're like, oh, that's why I should have listened to them. You learn that as you get older. You're like, why didn't I listen to a lot of the advice I got when I was younger? So maybe these kids are gonna be headed down that route. But right now, Wolverine wanted to go get them and so forth. And Storm says, maybe I should go Wolverine because maybe Wolverine's acting too aggressive. Like I'm just gonna bring them by force. And there was this thing here felt a little awkward to me where Jean Grey's like Storm should go because she has so much empathy and so forth. She really, could put herself in the shoes of others or whatnot, right? That's what they're implying. To me, that little panel there, I was like, what the hell? I was like, all these X-Men, they fight for equality, they risk their lives all the time. So they all have empathy and they're all in the same fight with Storm. And the way Jean Grey said this is kind of like implying only Storm is like this. That was kind of odd to me, but at the same time, as a longtime X-Men reader, that's always been a strong character of Storm. She's always been kind of like very educated, and she's also always put others ahead of herself, majority of the time. So it does fit the character, but it came off a little weird here on this panel though. The delivery itself. Get back to the students themselves. There's this one student called Buddy. She's kind of like the one that wears a costume that looks like Cyclops. Even her superhero name is Cyclops Glasses, I believe. So it's kind of like making fun about the whole situation. And the way she's drawn, she comes off kind of like a lesbian to me. So I thought she was like either a tomboy or maybe LGBTQ. And she points out she has a crush on this guy. So I was like, all right, so she's not. So, just the way she dressed, kind of like a boy, kind of threw me off. I was like, okay. Then she had like eyes that were kind of looked Asian. Then I noticed a lot of the characters had eyes that look Asian, almost all of them. So I was like, why are they drawing all the characters like this? Because obviously they're all different races. And I don't know, maybe it's just the artist, he wanted to draw them all that way. And his name is Bernard Chang. So it sounds kind of like an Asian name. So maybe he's just used to drawing the characters that way. Found that a little bit interesting. Didn't throw me off the story or ruin the story for me in any way. But you like to kind of slightly see them have different features from each other, which for the most part they do, but they all have the same eyes. Go figure, right? So anyway, she's in this. They're having this basketball game, and she's watching along with these other people. She's having a chat with one of her friends. She's talking with her friend. They overhear this other couple. I believe they're a couple. They could just be friends. It's a male and a female, and they're talking about, oh, muties. Can you believe they're trying to poison us with these miracle drugs they claim and whatnot? They're trying to form an army in Krakow to go against us. And she's telling them that's all nonsense. You guys are lying. Your lies can get people killed, can get people to hate each other because you just spread rumors and invent stuff, right? Much like what happens in society a lot today. That was a very interesting conversation they had and this argument they had basically. It's very current of, comics gotta throw current situations where the world's at in this moment. And that does happen a lot, especially online where you got these groups trying to get you to hate other groups. Like how many times they try to tell me on Twitter or on other social media to like hate a specific group, hate these white people for no reason. It's like they never done anything to me. Why should I hate them, right? So it's a bunch of nonsense, and that's what they're arguing about here themselves. So after this heated exchange, we got Buddy again. She's going home, and once she goes home, she has this father. I guess she's raised by a single parent. She's only with her father, and she's talking to her other X-Men buddies that she wants to go to Krakow. They're all gonna go, but she doesn't want to leave her dad. I don't know if they drew him bald here, so I don't know if maybe he's sick, he has cancer or something. Not sure yet. But she didn't want to leave him, and she's like, maybe we just need to. But they decided they're gonna go to Krakow. They're all leaving their life behind and starting a new life in this island. The issue ends when they're standing in front of this portal, and the issue just kind of ends there. So I really enjoyed it. I felt like I don't know where the story is going, but there's a story developing here. So it really intrigued me. Like it keeps me on my toes. It kept me guessing, kept me focused and on wanting to know more about this. Okay, so here for the most part, the dialogue was good. The Characters sounded interesting. The conversations they held up. They kept me interested. I wasn't like bored by when they were speaking. Like, oh, I just get to something important, and it felt like that. If you could write a scene where they're just chopping it up, chit chatting, and that's interesting to me without them talking about anything important, then the dialogue is good. The art is iffy. It's not my favorite. Don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. It gets the job done. Now the story, the important part here, the story itself. I found this very interesting. I'm very curious to see where this goes. These guys, they're not quite mutants. At least we don't think they're mutants because they use technology, right? So they don't have superpowers, but yet they want to go to Krakoa, and the X-Men seem to think they're mutants. But yet their Cerebro, it finds mutants and so forth. She can't find them. So that leads me to believe maybe they can't find them because they're not mutants, right? So that's very interesting. If they're not mutants, why do they say they're mutants? Why are they claiming, right? And then I remind myself they're kids. Kids bullshit a lot. They claim to be things they're not. We have that not just right now, but it's always been a thing. Kids have always tried to be part of groups or try to fit in, and sometimes they're trying to be part of groups will try to be something they're not. And then you could see through it sometimes. Sometimes they come out believable at first, and that's where they're at. It's like wow, like they come off as believable superheroes, as believable mutants, and maybe they're just humans the whole time, right? They're kind of like for those of you that are from like you're not just American, you're not Caucasian or whatever. Like me, I'm Mexican American. I was born here, I was raised here. I've rarely been in Mexico. I've been to TJ, but when you go there, like they see through you right away. They're like, you're American. You're not Mexican because you're not from around there. They could tell you talk different and so forth, dress different. And then, like, if I was to be around white people, they're like, oh, you're obviously Mexican, you're not white. So you're like somewhere in between. You got like you got to find your own niche group or whatnot. Um, and that's kind of where this team feels like they're at. Like they're not quite human. They don't fit in with the humans because a lot of humans have an animosity towards like mutants, so they don't fit in there. And they're not. It feels like they're not mutants. So they're scared to go to Krakow because they're like, well, we're not OG, right? Like we're not OG, we're not real mutants. So they're like in somewhere stuck in the middle. That's how it's coming off right now. Now I think the X-Men had previous or all mutants had previously lost their powers, or some have. So maybe they could be mutants that maybe lost their powers, and they are relying on technology to use superpowers, right? And maybe that's why they didn't want to go to Krakoa. I'm not quite sure. I don't know where the story is going here. These are just ideas that popped in my head. I'm like, wow, we have so much space to grow. There's so much room to tell the story. It could go in one of a million different directions, and I'm on board for it. I want to see where it goes. Judging from this first issue, I don't know the story's gonna be great, but I know it's well written. That the dialogue and so forth, like the writer seems to know what he's doing. So it's gonna be just about the can he tell a good story? Like I said, for me personally, I kind of hope it seems like these are new characters. So I kind of hope we just get character moments, see these characters grow, and eventually they're not knockoff X-Men. Eventually they get their own costumes, their own names. I love to see characters from the start, from the roots, and see them blossom, right, and to go into their own thing. I would love that if that's what happens here. But I know it's Marvel, and when people read Marvel, they're expecting action scenes and save the world and so forth. So we're gonna have to throw some of that in there, but it looks like it's gonna be relying more heavy on character moments, and I'm all for that. I like that, and we're just gonna have to wait and see. I am excited about it though. I like this first issue, and let me know what you guys thought about it. If you guys read it, let me know in the comments. What do you think it's going, or what did you think of this first issue? Like I said, I can't wait to see where it goes. Hopefully, it feels like it's gonna be more character driven than plot driven, but we'll see. Other than that, hopefully you like this review and you hit that like button on your way out, and I'll check you guys out next time.